Good morning and welcome to day 5 of Advance of Codes 2025. Let's get right to it. So today is... okay. Task doesn't want to be displayed today. Okay, so... today is day 5, and I think the task today is quite straightforward. There's probably a challenge I don't see yet, but yeah, let's read it first. As the forklifts break through the wall, the elves are delighted to discover that there was a cafeteria on the other side after all. You can hear commotion coming from the kitchen. At this rate, we won't have any time left to put the wraiths up in the dining hall. Resolute in your quest, you investigate. If only we hadn't switched to the new inventory management system right before Christmas, another elf exclaims. You ask what's going on. The elves in the kitchen explain the situation. Because of their complicated new inventory management system, they can't figure out which of their ingredients are fresh and which are spoiled. When you ask how it works, they give you a copy of their database, your puzzle input. The database operates in ingredient IDs. It consists of a list of fresh ingredient ID ranges, a blank line, and a list of available ingredient IDs. For example, here, the ranges 3 to 5, then probably \n on which we can split, and then the different ingredients. The fresh ID ranges are inclusive. The range 3 to 5 means that ingredients IDs 3, 4, and 5 are all fresh. The ranges can also overlap. An ingredient ID is fresh if it is in any range. The elves are trying to determine which of the available ingredient IDs are fresh. In this example, this is done as follows. Ingredient ID 1 is spoiled because it does not fall into any range. Ingredient ID 5 is fresh because it falls into the range 3 to 5. 8 is spoiled because it doesn't fall in any range, and so on. So in this example, 3 of the available ingredient IDs are fresh. Process the database file from the new inventory management system. How many of the available ingredient IDs are fresh? And just to check that I didn't misunderstand the task again. Yeah, 1 is spoiled, of course. 5 is not spoiled because it's included here. 8 is spoiled. 11 is not spoiled. 17 shouldn't be spoiled either. 32 is spoiled. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Then I would say let's get over to Visual Studio Code and let's start implementing our solution. So let's first simply copy day 4, rename it to day 5, and don't need this, don't need this. Especially don't need these helper functions, but we of course need the tests. And we need to go to the module and declare that we are now using the file day 5. Then I'm going to quickly switch over and copy our input. Let's copy the input over here. And yeah, for this we don't know yet. And here it is simply a 3. I can imagine that later overlapping ranges will be exclusive. So 12 to 18 is actually spoiled in this case, or the overlapping numbers. So 16 to 18 are actually spoiled. But yeah, let's see in the part B. Let's definitely rename this to 5 and then create a new file in the resource folder. And I'm gonna switch over again and get my puzzle input. That may be interesting. I'm gonna show that. So the puzzle input today. Yeah, okay, the ranges can be quite huge. And there are a lot of IDs. Now let's see. Let's see how this performs. I mean, we have no time pressure. Doesn't matter if this runs all day. Okay, so yeah, we have to rename this to day 5 as well, and here we want to use the 5 as well, and then we can already go into our main and instantiate the AOC data 5 here. Of course, I have to import it. Okay, so then let's go ahead. So I would say we should split on a double \n. If this doesn't work, we'll have to check that later. And then we say ranges and increments. Can we actually cannot index into this, right? No, of course not. Yeah, I think we collect this to a vector and then sometimes I forget the angle bracket here. So, and then we say the ranges are at position 0, so ranges and ingredients dot first dot unwrap, and maybe a dereference here, and then ingredients. I'm not sure if it's audible, but my cats are fighting in the background. Okay, and then we say ranges and ingredients. Second does not exist. Nope. But we can take last simply, because that will also be what we want. And then we dereference this reference again, and now we have two stir slices and not references to stir slices. So, oh, wait, let me check the sound for a second. I haven't. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. So now we have our ranges. So let's start with those. I think we should simply collect all the numbers included in the ranges into a set. And then we can later simply check if the elements exist in the set. This is a pretty simple approach, I think, but it could be inefficient. But right now I have no idea what else we could really do, or at least that would be my first approach. And if that doesn't work, we have to get a little bit creative. But let's start with that first. So we say ranges split on a \n. Now we have the ranges or the lines. Then we map the lines. I want a flat map here. And then we say line.split on the minus sign. And then we have the numbers 3 and 5 here. I think we need a line body here. And now we call this the split. And then we say split dot first. We have to collect it again. Yeah, I have to specify the type here. Again, string slices, and then we say first dot unwrap, which is then the start number. We can already say parse here into, yeah, let's use an i64 just to have the right size directly in the beginning, and then we say unwrap again, and we do the same, but for the end, so we say last here. And then we have our range, both are i64s now, so we say start until end. And now we have the range, and this is flat mapped, and does that, can we collect that into a vec of i64? I'm not sure if this works, but oh, seems to work, but maybe let's collect it into a, I think it's the hash set. Yeah. Perfect. Let fresh ingredients. Fresh ingredients, perfect. Okay. And then we say ingredients dot. It's a string. Of course, we have to first split it on \n. And then we map it. Again, we got our line, and then we say now we don't have to split it because our line already has only a number. So we say parse, and we again parse to an i64. And then we can say filter on fresh ingredients dot contains. We only want values that are contained. Of course, this doesn't work again. Let's call this. Because we have to unwrap this first. Then we can probably use the method reference. No, still can't use it. Let's call it I for ingredient. Yeah, because it's a reference, we cannot use it. Or maybe not. Okay, and then we simply simply count the number of ingredients we have left. And then say as i64. So, but as we do not count the elements here, we can actually, I think we don't even need a 64. I think we are fine with the 32. But it can be unsigned because in our example there were no signed integers. That would be even better. So, and this will be a usize because otherwise it won't fit into a set or anything because we cannot index into it. But I think this should already work. Yeah. Easy. Okay. Then let's run this for the entire day. And now we get a crash. Unwrap on error, past cars, kind, position overflow. What is the problem here? what point did you crash? In 27 in collected hash set. Yeah, okay. Maybe we need 64s. I am really unsure if we do or if there's a different problem. Could be that this is just a problem I haven't encountered yet because I haven't tried to put so many values into a hash set yet. Let's see what the main says. This of course has to be 64 as well. And then we activate them on the main. Yeah, this seems to take quite some time. Yeah. It's probably because of enumerating the ranges is just taking so long. I mean, we could implement our own data structure or something similar to our own data structure and just fully enumerate it. We could even sort it as the inputs are and are, but sorting it won't necessarily help. Yeah, I think we need to implement our own data structure. I think that's... I mean, we can leave this running and see if it comes to a result at any point. Quickly gonna call htop. Oh, my processor. Yeah, it's not even multi-threading, so my processor is chilling. Okay, so we have to change this a bit. So my idea would be that we make a form of data structure. So a list of, let's say, struct called range. And what we do here is the range has a start of U64 and it has an end of U64. And then input for range would be fn contains and self, and the number would then also be U64. You know, just to make it easier for us, I think there's aliasing in Rust. Type alias. Yeah, we can say type. So let's maybe say type num and just say U64 here. Because if we want to change, I think an U64 is fine, but if we want to change this later for some reason, using a type alias here is of course way easier. So then contains will return true if start is smaller or equal to a num and num is smaller or equal than num, then the end. In that case, it, nope, wrong language, no, correct language, will return bool. And what's the problem? You might have meant to use field self. Yeah, thank you. That's actually exactly what I meant. I think we don't need a reference to the number here because this is, I mean, it's just a number. Doesn't matter. Still running. Okay. Yeah, so instead of doing this and instead of doing a flat map, of course, we also need a constructor here. Start is a num, end is a num, and we return a self, and this would be self start comma end. And then instead of using this, we simply say range new and then start end. And we don't use a flat map because we cannot flatten this. And this is now not a hash set, it's simply a vector of our ranges. And then we can... I'm not sure if there's a trait that has contains, but we can make a little trick here. I like an extension method. We say trait containable. Or T. And then we say fn contains and self and T and then this returns a bool. I think we should use reference here, even though we are not using this anymore after this. We should use a reference here and then self contains contains T, of course, but this is this doesn't make sense. But what I wanted to say was it should be a reference to a vector of self. Does that? No, it should be an impl for vec and then call contains. No, this is just a trait. We don't need an implementation here. That was my idea. Like this. Then we could, of course, also say here that impl containable for num for range, and then we can use this here. And then we have to put a reference here, but otherwise this should work. And then we say impl, impl containable of num for a vec of num. And then, of course, we have to implement the missing members. And then we say self dot any range. Range of num. Any range contains. And then we say T. What's the problem here? Range takes 0 generic arguments. Yeah, of course. We didn't make range generic. So, and now this contains call down here works, which was all what I wanted, because now fresh ingredients contains is implemented here. And now we've implemented a extension method for the vector type, because we used this trait. Otherwise, we couldn't do it. So, then let's run the tests again. Check this first. This works perfectly fine. No. This is just the block. The solution with the hash set is still running. I would interrupt it here because, at some time at some point it would have to finish, but I don't want to wait for that. So let's check the main and let's run this. And this is way faster. And the solution is 643. So let's hop over to Advance of Codes. And let's simply put in the 643. And that is correct. And so this was the first part. So let's go over to part 2 of day 5. So the elves start bringing their spoiled inventory to the trash chute at the back of the kitchen, so that they can stop bugging you when they get new inventory. The elves would like to know all of the IDs that the fresh ingredient ID ranges consider to be fresh. An ingredient ID is still considered fresh if it is in any range. Now the second section of the database, the available ingredient IDs, is irrelevant. Here the fresh ingredient ID ranges from the above example. The ingredient IDs that these ranges consider to be fresh are 3, 4, 5, 10. So in this example, the fresh ingredient ID ranges consider a total of 14 ingredients IDs to be fresh. Process the database file again. How many ingredients IDs are considered to be fresh according to the fresh ingredient ID ranges? Yeah, so I see what the problem is here. Let's gotta quickly go back and check 14. Total of 14 ingredient IDs were still fresh. So let's get over here and copy the 14 into our part B. So what was the problem, or what will be the problem? So our input is way too huge and has probably many duplications. So what we essentially have to do is we have to use our range type, or at least something similar, and join the different ranges with one another. So if the two ranges are intersecting, we should join them, and if they're not intersecting, then we want to return both. So I would say we implement an intersecting method. We say intersect and self, other and self. And then we say okay, this would be just the check if they are intersecting. We could of course simply do that, and let's say, for example, we could return an option and say that we return some of a joined element if they are matching, or we simply return none if they are not matching. But I would say we simply check for intersection and then join them and force our algorithm to be correct in that case. We still have to do the same with a non-intersecting type, so let's simply directly call it join. Does make more sense. So then if self dot start is smaller than self dot end, not self dot end, other dot starts, and self dot end is smaller than, is greater than other dot start. Now they're intersecting. I think there are 4 cases. Let's check this. So case 1, 2, 3, 4. then the first case is we always need 2 spaces for that. Make that illustration better. Or even 2 here. So, this is case 1. We have the first start here, the other end here, and then we have the start here, but the end here. And then we have almost the same case, but this way around. But this is essentially the same as up here, only the roles are reversed. And then, of course, one interval can contain the other interval. In that case, they are also intersecting, and of course the reverse of this. So there is no other case, right? I don't see any other case. I only see, actually, so there are only 2 cases. So either one interval is contained in the other, or the start is smaller than the start, and the end is bigger than the start. In any other case, they are not intersecting. Would it be easier to check against the other cases? Never mind. Let's simply do it like this. So how we can use that? We can simply check for one case and now we check for both cases. So let's name these cases. This is case 1, this is case 2, this is case 3, and then case 4, just for simplicity, because it's right now easier to do. We simply check for both cases. So self.start is smaller than other.start, but self.end is greater than other.start. Let's reverse this check. So this would be case 1. Then the other case would be other.start is smaller than self.start, and self.start is smaller than other.end. And self.start is smaller than other.start. But in this case, this also... I just realized. This case here, the 3 and the 4, we don't have to explicitly check for those because they are included in the cases 1 and 2. Because the start is also smaller than the end, right? So it's contained. So we know we have to merge them. So we don't have to explicitly check. So this is 1 and 3. And this is 2 and 4. That, of course, makes it easier. That looks weird, but let's ignore it for now. And okay, so now we have to merge them in both cases. So we don't actually have to make an if-else here. We can simply use an or. But we can use an else and then return none here. And here we have to return some at some point. We have actually to return a range. Or let's say self, new. And now we want the smallest start. Start is the min. What do we have? Num. Min of self.start and other.start. And no self here. And is the max of self dot end and other end. So why aren't you working? Because I don't have to do this, because this is the constructor and not the direct struct invocation. Okay. This looks, otherwise that it's horribly formatted, completely alright. Let's put this at the end and this at the end. Never mind. Let's keep the formatting here. It doesn't really matter. So this is a join. Then we now have a vector of ranges, but we can actually use a reduce here. I think that would be better. And then we simply instantiate and then we have our accumulator and we have our next element. We don't need the collect here anymore. And then we say oh, this is more complicated than I thought initially, because we are joining two ranges, we have to iterate over the entire list or vector again, because due to the joining, it could be that now more intervals are joinable. So we would have to say for element in accumulator. We could, of course, make a new one. Yeah, I think that is kind of wasteful, but it is what we should do. So we say let new accumulator is, let's use the macro here, so we don't have to specify the type. And then we say if, match next, or let's say immutable current is equal to next for now, and then we match current dot join. We call it join. Join with the current element, and then we have some joined, and in that case we say current is equal to joined, and if we have none, then we say new accumulator push the element. So what is your problem? That you say you return an option of range? Because I said reduce, I don't mean reduce, I mean fold. In languages with operator overriding, we would, of course, could simply use join, but here we have to use, we could simply use reduce with an overload of an init, but here we have to say fold. It's essentially the same as reduce, just with a start element. New ack is not mutable. Yeah, now the problem becomes each time the range gets bigger, we have to start from the beginning again. Which is totally annoying. But right now I don't have a better idea. We could of course implement that recursively. I'm currently thinking how we can do that even. We can make a loop. And then make immutable changed. If not changed, break. But we should probably start here, and no, it still has to be mutable. And if we have a join here, then we have to say change this true. And the accumulator ack moved due to this implicit call to off into iter, so we have to say that we want a reference here, which is completely fine. And pushing the element gives us, yeah, we of course have to say ack is equal to the new accumulator we have now. And in that case, we can actually really consume this. This is completely alright. So, does it understand that cannot mutate immutable ack? Yeah, it does understand that. So, we consume this accumulator, which is completely alright because we actually push all its element into the new accumulator, or we join them together. And that is alright. And then in the end, either way, we still have to say new ack push our current element, because otherwise this is never pushed into it. And what's the problem here? Borrow of moved value new accumulator. That's not moved yet. Moves here. Why are you having a problem of borrowing it here? We also do the push in here. Value moved here. Yeah, but that is after. Now I see. No, we don't. Wait, let me think. So we're going around with the element and joining everything we can into that element. And that is the only thing that changes, so that should be alright. And if something is joined into our new element, then it doesn't need to be pushed into the new collection. So we actually don't need that here. What we need is to push the current value here, because then it is the final value that has everything inside of it. So why are you not happy now? Move occurs because new egg has type day5 range, which does not implement the copy trait. We actually don't need the new accumulator here. We can simply instantiate it here. Now this works. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Each time we make a new accumulator, then we iterate over all the elements and either join them into a current, or we simply push them into our new accumulator. Then we set our old accumulator to the new accumulator, and if nothing changed, we break and push our current element. That should be completely fine and result in all ranges. So let's first run this test, which runs fine. We didn't change A at all. We even made it faster, maybe. But let's extract this, and this is actually ingredients extraction. Fresh ingredient ranges and ingredients, and for B we simply have to say yeah, right, ingredients extraction of our input. We can ignore the second part and can say here ranges. And what we needed to do was count all the numbers, if I'm right. Yeah, we had to call all the numbers, and that is where our range comes into play now. And now we say, we make a little function which we call to range. That could consume our range, but it doesn't really matter. Let's have no return type, and let's say we return, give me a second, the bot, advertise bot again. But apparently I have to go to my channel to kick them. Yeah, okay. Account was created yesterday. Perfect. Yeah, so where was I? Sorry for that. So to range, and we say we start, and we go to the end, and we say this is a range, or I think this could be a slice. That of course would be, nah, it can't be a slice because we have to return ownership. We could collect it, but let's just say we return this range, because then we can simply say ranges flat map R for range, and then to range, And then we say count into an I64. I think we have to say as I64. And let's run the task B. And this is working perfectly, even quite fast. Let's check if this still holds for, yeah, the part B. There. And here's our solution. Then let's get over to to Advance of Codes and paste in the number. No, that's not the right answer. Your answer is too high. If you're stuck, make sure you're using the full input data. Sorry. Number is too high. So I'm counting things double. Okay. That's all right. If we are counting things double, then let's simply create a set, because then we cannot count them twice. Hash set. I could, of course, fix my range collection, but that would be too easy. So, and then it's not count, it's probably simply length, and then SI64, and then let's run the main again. There's still pretty high number, but hopefully a different number. Ah, sorry, I didn't switch over. Still doesn't work. Still too high. That doesn't make sense. So, why is it too high? That would mean that my range detection algorithm is incorrect. Just realized they can also be on the same level. That would also be fine. So my range detection must be incorrect, because otherwise we cannot have too many elements. That's the only solution I see right now. Right, because I think this algorithm, even though it isn't nice to look at, is logically correct, because we do not add elements that we joined, and only in the end we push it. So this should be fine. Don't see a problem here. So it can only be this. Then let's start the debugging. So it's of course awesome that we have so high numbers, because this is probably super fun to compare them. So start is 2461, this is 2471, yes. And this is 2475, yeah, so they are included, that is fine. So they can be joined together. Definitely. Yeah. Without a loss or without anything new. Then we have 294, 22784, 2938. So this is smaller than that start. And the end 294. Sorry, could it be that the start? No, if the start is smaller. So this is this case, right? The start lies between the start and the end of the other. Or the other way around. And this one is this case. So Yeah. No, that should be fine. It's probably a really simple fix and I just don't see it right now. But I think the only way to find it is to look at those ranges. I added the hash set at the wrong place. I added it at A, not at B. I mean, we can do that, but it's... Yeah, okay. That could, of course... collect into a hash set of U64s. And then instead of count, we use length. And then we check B again. This is still running through. And then we run here. Ah. No, the set creation again takes so much time. Why does the set creation take so much time? Interesting. I mean, I understand that it takes time, but deduplicating it? Or is there even a distinct? Probably not. Yeah, okay. I just remembered how high the number was we actually had. I'm thinking how we can improve the range data structure we already have. The problem is that right now I think that our range data structure is, or our range joining is not perfect. I mean, this is fine. This is fine. So I don't understand why there are duplicates, but there are duplicates, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't get a wrong result from Advent of Code. So if we didn't have those duplicates, we could simply count the elements in the range. That, of course, would make it easier, but we still have those duplicates. Okay, I'm gonna get me a coffee. And when I'm back, I hope that the calculation is finished. And if the calculation isn't finished, then I will have to, fix the algorithm. Otherwise, this is just a really long-running solution. And yeah, I'd say I'll be right back. So I'm back. And the code is still running. which is bad. I hoped it would be finished by now. But alright, then we actually have to look at the code and fix the error I have. Too bad. Okay, so the problem is probably in... Yeah, it must be in a range calculation. Also, so let's go through this. The ingredient extraction is completely fine. Right? We create a range, start and end. And then this could be a problem. That we actually are somehow not joining things with one another that should be joined. So there are some intersections which we did not check, but I don't understand actually how that could happen. Huh. Never mind. Yeah, we're gonna check that later, this algorithm. So we create our ranges. We have a vector of ranges. And the second one is irrelevant for us. 1 second. Yeah, so the range is relevant right now, but the ingredients are not. So then we return those. And now we have our ranges, which are apparently intersecting somehow. And then we flat map them to a range, and then we collect them, and then we calculate the length. And then we go to advent of code, and it says that our result is too big. So it cannot be that the ranges are not extended properly or something like that. It must definitely be that we have intersecting ranges that are not correctly joined. So, as I cannot come up with, or as I have no idea why this isn't working, let's simply Google it. Given intervals, the task is, yeah, that is exactly our problem. We have multiple intervals and we want to, yeah, okay, it's not exactly what we want, but it's close enough to what we want. So approach, start by considering the first interval as the required answer. Now start from the second interval. Try searching for the intersections. Two cases can arise. There exists no intersection between them. Only when R1 is smaller than L2 and R2 is smaller than L1. In such a case, answer will be 0, i.e. no intersections. There exists an intersection between. Yeah. Yeah, that is the intersection. And the union of both will be the exact opposite. So the minimum of left and the max of right. Yeah, must be. So they say this would be In that case, we return 0. So then let's simply take that over. And let's change our check here and kind of reverse it. No intersection if R1 is the right of self, so self end is smaller than other start, or no, yes. It's just the reverse. So other end is smaller than self.start. Only in that case we return none, and in all other cases we return some like this. So if we trust them that that is correct, then running the test should definitely work. Does work. And then running the main. Ah, shit. Now I crashed the other running process. Too bad. This is still trying to create the hash set. That's why it takes so long. Let's skip the hash set creation here. And simply say count as I64. And then we go to main and we say run. Okay, I think we can simply take this number and write it into a test or B and say so the result is smaller than this number, because I think it's the same number that we always get. So now I'm going back again to Advent of Code and submit this. That's the right answer. God damn it. Okay. We got it. Nice. Okay, so there was actually a mistake in my algorithm for detecting if two ranges are intersecting. Yes. Very nice. Okay. So. Yeah. Finally. Let me quickly check. I think I think the first part was finished after 40 minutes. And that was also the parsing, which I could skip in this solution. So, yeah. Took me a little bit longer to finish part B. But it is done. And yeah. Yeah, for everything, it took me 1 hour, 20 minutes. It's always, it's the 80-20 rule. For 20%, not even 20% in AOC, it's like for 5%, it takes you 90% of the time. So, but I think that would be it for today. I mean, could also do day one, but I think I would do a separate stream for day one. Yeah, I really like AOC. It's always fun. It's kind of sad that it's only the 12 days. Yeah, today, not today, but this year. But yeah, I mean, this way I can definitely finish all of the tasks. Because if there were 24, I would probably not. I couldn't keep that up for the entire 24 days. Yeah, but then I would say, yeah, I would say I will end the stream here. Yeah, I will definitely stream day one another time. I have to get used to the delay in the messages. Yeah, but yeah, I will stream that another day. Yeah, I will post it on Blue Sky, Instagram, something like that when I do day one, and I will probably do it in the evening at a reasonable time and not in the morning like I do the other streams. But yeah, if you had fun, I'm glad to see you again tomorrow. I guess it would be, yeah, for most of you, it's won't be reasonable to assume that you get up that early on a Saturday, but that's completely all right. Yeah, the recording of this stream and all other streams will be on YouTube anyways, if you want to look them up there. And if I keep having fun with this and yeah, if I keep having fun with this, I will probably set up a streaming plan and yeah, maybe stream in the evening at some point. The question just popped up. I will be cutting it, but not greatly. So yeah, I will cut out the breaks, but nothing else that would just take too much time for 1 hour 20. Yeah. So thanks very much for watching and participating. And yeah, hope I see you tomorrow. Then, bye.